Have you ever heard a question that sounded perfectly innocent, yet somewhere deep inside, a quiet instinct whispered that something was wrong? A gentle tone, a harmless smile, a soft delivery, and still, something felt off. Then the moment you answered, you realized you had stepped into a game you were never meant to win. This is the true art of the liar. They don't always lie with their statements. Sometimes they lie with their questions. And if you don't recognize the disguise quickly enough, you find yourself caught inside a mental trap. One where you begin doubting your own instincts, apologizing for things you never did, and fighting against yourself instead of the person manipulating you. The ancient Romans understood this tactic long before psychology gave it a name. Seneca, Epictetus, Marcus Aurelius. They all warned that deception rarely begins with a direct attack. It begins with tiny seeds planted quietly into the mind. Seeds of doubt, seeds of guilt, seeds of confusion. And once planted, the liar simply waits for you to water them with your fear. 2,000 years later, the methods haven't changed. They have only grown more subtle, more refined, more socially acceptable. And because they appear as harmless questions, we rarely see the danger until we're already entangled. But you're not powerless. By understanding these questions and how the Stoics would respond, you can shield yourself from manipulation. Not with aggression, not with suspicion, but with clarity, calm, unshakable clarity. It begins with the deceptively simple. Why are you being so sensitive? On the surface, it sounds like concern, almost gentle. But beneath the surface, it is the gaslighter's first bullet. Because the question is not truly a question. It is an accusation wrapped in soft packaging. It tells you, without saying it outright, that your perception is flawed. Your emotions are exaggerated. Your awareness is a problem. And once you accept the idea that your alertness is a weakness, you become easier to control. Think back to a moment when you pointed out something wrong, a comment, a behavior, a subtle inconsistency. Instead of being heard, you were brushed off, told you were overreacting, told you were too sensitive. Or maybe at work, you caught something unethical and raised a concern, only for someone to laugh and say, "Come on, don't be so dramatic." These moments are not harmless. They're strategic, because real sensitivity, is not fragility. It is awareness. It is your radar. It is the early warning system humans have used for thousands of years to sense danger before it becomes visible to others. A financial analyst who notices subtle inconsistencies, mocked as paranoid, until a fraud worth millions is uncovered. A woman who senses her partner distancing emotionally, dismissed as insecure, until the truth eventually surfaces. In both cases, sensitivity wasn't the flaw. It was the insight, and this is why manipulators attack it. Seneca once wrote, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." Manipulators weaponize that idea by making you imagine that you are the problem. But the Stoic response is simple and steady, not angry or defensive. When someone tries to shame your awareness, a calm, clear reply disarms them completely. "I'm not being sensitive. I'm being observant." Does that make you uncomfortable? In a single sentence, the mask begins to crack. The next deceptive question comes wrapped in softness. "You trust me, right?" It sounds tender, innocent, but no honest person needs to ask for trust. Trustworthy people prove themselves consistently. Their actions build trust day by day, without ever demanding it. When someone feels the need to ask for trust directly, what they are really asking is for you to stop thinking, to stop questioning, to hand over your judgment so they can operate in the dark. Epictetus warned that no one can learn what they believe they already know. Manipulators exploit this truth. By asking, "You trust me, right?" they paint your curiosity as betrayal. Your need for information becomes an insult, and in your effort to avoid hurting them, you silence your instincts. But caution is not disloyalty. Caution is wisdom. Think about the business partner who refuses to show the numbers but expects unquestioning faith. Think about the lover who hides their phone but insists that asking questions is proof you don't trust them. They aren't building trust, they're demanding blind belief. The Stoic approach again is calm and firm. Trust is earned through consistency. Are you asking me to ignore my judgment? A liar will stumble at this. They may try to change the subject. They may even lash out. But a person of integrity will not be offended. They will simply keep proving themselves. Trust is not something you give under pressure. It is something you give through observation. And the Stoic never forgets that. Then comes the third question, designed to flip the script entirely. Are you accusing me of something? This is not confusion. It is strategy. It turns you from observer to defendant. You are simply asking a question, trying to understand, trying to clarify something that didn't feel right. But suddenly, you are the aggressor. You are put on trial. And the more you rush to explain yourself, the more power you give away. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The best answer to anger is silence." In situations like these, silence is not surrender. It is strength. It is refusing to play the game on their terms. When someone snaps, "Are you accusing me of something?" the Stoic holds the silence. Lets it breathe. Lets the manipulator feel the weight of their own question. Then responds, slowly and calmly. "Should I be?" These three words strike directly at the tactic. Because liars expect panic. They expect immediate backpedaling. They expect fear. They never expect composure. In real life, this tactic shows up everywhere. A boss confronted about irregular expenses suddenly becomes offended. A partner questioned about suspicious behavior becomes outraged that you dare ask. In both cases, the goal is to redirect your attention away from their behavior and onto your supposed accusations. But once you understand the tactic, it loses its power entirely. Then comes the softest but most dangerous performance of all. Would I ever lie to you? This is manipulation dressed in innocence. It is designed to make you feel guilty for doubting. But think about it logically. Why would anyone need to ask that question unless they had something to hide? Honest people don't announce their honesty. They don't need to. Their lives speak for them, quietly and consistently. But liars turn innocence into theater. They act hurt. They play the victim. They pretend that your doubt is cruelty. And when you begin comforting them instead of examining the truth, they have won. Seneca wrote, "If it is not true, do not say it. If it is not right, do not do it." A person living by that principle has no fear of scrutiny. Only liars fear questions. The Stoic response to this emotional performance is clarity without cruelty. That's not the question. The question is, would I know if you did? Suddenly, the fog lifts. The manipulator loses their hiding place. The performance collapses. Because liars thrive when you doubt yourself, never when you see clearly. And finally comes the last tactic in a liar's arsenal, used only when all else fails. Can't we just move on? This is not a request for peace. It is a request for escape. When lies start to crumble, when inconsistencies begin piling up, when answers stop making sense, the manipulator grows tired. Not tired of conflict, but tired of accountability. So they push you toward exhaustion. They make you feel guilty for wanting clarity. They imply that by seeking truth, you are preventing healing. But real healing cannot exist without truth. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." Notice that he did not add, "unless it's inconvenient." Manipulators depend on your fatigue. When you become tired enough, when you grow weary of asking questions, when you start feeling guilty for wanting honesty, you stop pursuing the truth. And that is how lies survive. Not because the liar is clever, but because the truth seeker has been worn down. The Stoic response is steady and firm. I'll move on when I understand what happened. Not before. This sentence is a shield. It protects your mind from being rushed, pushed, or manipulated. It sets the pace on your terms. And liars cannot operate on your terms. This is where the Stoic mindset becomes your ultimate protection. Manipulators depend on emotional chaos, not logic. They need you reactive. They need you insecure. They need you confused. Because the moment you stay calm, their entire strategy collapses. Epictetus taught that freedom begins with understanding what is within your control and what is not. A liar's feelings are not within your control. Their anger is not within your control. Their discomfort, guilt, or disappointment, they do not belong to you. Only your response belongs to you. When someone tries to guilt you, you remember that their emotions are their responsibility. When they shame your sensitivity, you remember that awareness is strength. When they try to exhaust you into silence, you remember that truth has no deadline. The Stoic stands inside the storm untouched, calm when others rage, clear when others manipulate, steady when others twist reality. Because the manipulator's greatest weapon only works when you react. Take away your reaction, and the weapon turns to dust. So now you understand the 5 most dangerous questions liars use to manipulate. Each one is a calculated move on the chessboard. Each one is designed to shift your focus, weaken your confidence, and silence your instincts. But you're not a pawn. You are a player. The Stoics were feared not for violence, but for clarity. A person who sees truth is dangerous to those who depend on deception. You are not cruel for having standards. You're not harsh for seeking truth. You're not weak for noticing what others ignore. You are awake. And in a world built on shadows, the awake are always feared. Walk forward as the Stoic warrior does, calm, observant, unshakable. And if this philosophy resonates with you, take a moment to reflect on your own path. In your mind, say 3 simple words. I choose clarity.